Hey everybody, so I am going to be traveling to Springfield, Ohio today to do a little bit of, I guess you could call it on the ground reporting. I just want to do some information gathering, talk to locals, get my own two eyeballs on the place because I really don't trust what the media is saying. And for the most part, I never got political with this channel, but things are getting too crazy. I got stuff going on in my own backyard, so we need people seeking the truth, doing actual journalism because the media obviously won't. So these were the only two folks who were willing to show their faces on camera. I'm very grateful for it. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Howdy. So what do you do here in Springfield?
We do a lot of tree work around, so
That's awesome.
we do a lot of work for good people, so it goes good. And a lot of ignorant motherfuckers coming around, so sorry about my language, but they should go back to their own country, you know what I'm saying?
Have they been giving you any trouble, or?
Down where in my neighborhood is a lot of walking, but I have my dogs up and my cats up, so they
Right.
don't get nothing.
Because I've been hearing about that, so I want to go find out for myself.
Right, but my concern is they need to have their relations like keep your dogs up,
Right.
your cats up, or your dogs and cats ain't gonna get eaten.
Yeah, it's bad you got to feel that way.
Yeah, and I don't know how to feel like thousands and thousands and more coming from your generations to ours, and they ain't with our generation.
Yeah.
How their lifespans and how our lifespans, they don't got that yet. You know what I'm saying?
Very, very different people.
Yes. Different lifestyles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Two
yeah.
cultures kind of smashing all at once.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
Thank you. So have you experienced anything in Springfield, or just seen a lot of people?
I mean, I've seen a lot of Haitians around. They're taking over. Every other neighbor's a Haitian. They're going around stabbing people. They're going to our Shawnee Park right over here. They're going around and grabbing the geese and the duck. They're cooking them. Our cats and dogs have been coming up missing.
Shit.
They've been offering me $20,000 to marry them. So it's been a difficult situation with them around.
Gosh, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I just talked to a local who wished to remain anonymous, but when I asked him about the Haitian situation, he said that he was surprised at how much money they had, that they were driving new cars, and supposedly the city has a budget on their behalf. So that seemed a little bit concerning, and the two gentlemen I talked to earlier said they certainly have seen a lot of people. One of them expressed cats and dogs going missing and his fear of that. So I'm going to talk to more people and just see what kind of opinions I get from the locals. All right, so I was able to talk to a couple more gentlemen who, don't want their faces on camera, which I understand completely. But one of them has accepted my phone number, and he's going to call me later today. So he's given me permission to record the phone conversation. He just doesn't want his face shown in public. So we'll get that probably towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. But the gentleman I talked to who lives here in Springfield said that he actually saw a cat hanging from a tree. He called the authorities, and they weren't willing to show up. He had about 30 Haitian neighbors living in one house, and one of them managed to crash a car into a tree in their own yard. Now, this is an eyewitness account from somebody who lives here in town, and he should be hopefully calling me later today. But these are the things that I'm hearing. Like I said, I've got two willing participants who did an interview, but a lot of people are probably afraid of backlash. And those who really want to step up and talk to me on the camera, I think it's great. But we'll just kind of see how I do today. Hopefully I can get a few more brief interviews before I head back home. Right now I'm just driving through South Springfield. I'm headed to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I'm going to try to get a little bit of something on that. So we'll see how that turns out. There's the Springfield BMV. I'll try to find a spot to park. So the BMV, interestingly enough, has a strict no pictures or film taking policy, which I definitely adhered to. So what I'm going to do in this next clip is just explain to you what I saw. Okay, so I just left the Springfield, Ohio BMV, and I was able to get eyes on the place, and sure enough, there are a lot of non-English speakers holding pieces of paper saying driver status, which is not a license. Now, some of the reports that I've been hearing are that people are going to the DMV. They don't really have any paperwork, but they can just get a piece of paper that gives them a driver status, and they can go about their merry business. So I wanted to see if that was true, and sure enough it was. Now, can I prove it? Yes. But in doing so, there might be some issues I could run into, so I have to look into that first. But I can say as an eyewitness, there are definitely foreigners at the Springfield BMV with getting little pieces of paper saying driver status, which are not licenses. So something very interesting to note. Hopefully I can find more than just 2 willing participants. A lot of people I've talked to are happy to share information with me, but they really don't want their faces to be seen on camera, which I can understand. But that's just kind of the way the world is now. You can't, you don't want to get doxxed. You don't want people going after your kids or your business. So it's unfortunate, but I've been taking a lot of notes, and I'll be sharing them with you tonight. Well, I'm going to head home for now. Take what little bit of footage that I got and put it together and do some commentary at the end. See you in a little bit. Alright, so I am back home. I didn't have a ton of time to spend, but I still was able to get a lot of stuff written down here. Now, in the previous clips you saw, there were 2 brave souls willing to go on camera. Everybody else that I talked to was very willing to speak to me, kind of air their grievances, and let me know what was going on in their town, but wished to remain anonymous. One of them had kids. We had some business owners, people who don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of resources, and are afraid of the backlash. So I give them no disrespect. But what I've been writing down in my notebook is people complaining of missing pets. That was a common thing I heard. A gentleman is getting evicted from his rental situation for a Haitian to take his place. He's the same person saw cats and geese being strung up in trees, presumably to drain the blood out. When you skin a deer, because I've gone deer hunting, you hang the deer up in a tree and you gut it and you drain all the blood out. They were doing this with local cats. This same gentleman I spoke to said that a car crashed into a tree in the neighbor's front yard. I hear a lot of people saying that they don't know how to drive, and that's one more little bit of evidence. One report of saying that multiple people being packed into one house to maximize rent, and there's another report of that later. Law enforcement is refusing to show up for the reporting of cats and geese being killed and hung in trees. And I talked to one young man. He said that they seem to have a lot of money. Some of them are driving new cars. And in his word, quote, supposedly the city is budgeting for it. I talked to one lady. She mentioned that there's a lot of oil in Haiti, which was kind of interesting. But she, being one of many struggling Americans, told me that she went down to the welfare office, and what did she see lined up out the door? Haitians. Interesting to note that the governor is commenting on how the Haitians bring so much value to our economy. I talked to another adult male. He said that he saw 6 dead ducks being carried from the park. The guy threw bread to them and then killed them and then dragged them out. He also claims landlords will charge $400 per person per month, then put 10, 12 people in one house to maximize profit. Now, traditionally, you rent a home to one family for anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a month at the high end for a nice house. Lower income housing, it used to be $6,000 to $8,000 a month. But if you got 10 people and you can charge them all $400 a month, now you're making $4K. So landlords are taking advantage of this situation heavily. I talked to a couple local mechanics. Again, I'm leaving their name and their business out of it because they wish to remain anonymous. But they claimed that the homeless shelter was emptied to allow Haitians. They also confirmed the situation with the geese being killed in the parks. They said that Walmart has been completely overrun with Haitians. And they don't allow cameras at the local BMV. Interesting. I actually went there. You see in the videos. We'll talk more about that later. The same mechanic that I talked to said that while I was at the BMV, one of the Haitians was physically aggressive towards his wife. And they no longer wish to go to Walmart. They no longer want to go to the BMV. Talking to these same mechanics, they told me that one of their neighboring shops that Haitians walked in demanded that they fix his car right away. He said, look, I'm busy. I can schedule it for next week. They parks the car, blocks the front entrance of his business, which I don't think is legal. So they're harassing this person because they're not getting what they want. That is extremely just frustrating. And these same mechanics I talk to have friends who are immigrants who express the frustration of all of the illegals being poured into this small town, presumably 15 to 20,000. They claim that the Social Security office is full of them, so you can't get to the Social Security office anymore. And what was interesting is they also told me that in the middle of the night at the Love's gas station there in, I think, north part of Springfield, that buses are dropping off the Haitian migrants, and it is actually the Catholic churches that are busing them back into town. He told me that this decline started about 3 years ago. And the last guy that I talked to in Springfield, an older fellow in a Corvette, he said that yes, there's been a large influx of immigrants like everybody else is saying, but he said something that I didn't hear from the news or anybody else, but supposedly the KKK showed up in Springfield at some point. Now, I'm sure you share my sentiments. I think everybody in this room would agree that we don't have the most positive opinion of the Ku Klux Klan. But being that they're ferociously anti-immigration, if you bring tons and tons of immigrants into one city, it's not a surprise that they're going to be a little bit more active. But the same person was also commenting that, yeah, the city is just not as safe as it used to be. So I've talked to lots and lots of people, again, too, willing to show up on camera, the rest who, want to remain anonymous. But I'm hearing all of the same stories, is that there are more car accidents. The mechanics I talked to complained of one of his cars was broken into. It wasn't like this years ago. There is, difficulty going to the BMV, and I actually went there myself. I don't think I can actually prove it to protect myself legally, if you know what I'm saying. But I went to the BMV. I put eyes on the place. I walked in. Yes, there were non-English speaking people there holding little slips of paper saying current driver status, so non-licenses, and they were handing them to these people. So giving them these pieces of paper, which I assume are some kind of driving permits to non-citizens who can't speak English. And all the locals told me, oh, go to the BMV. They're always there. And I show up at the BMV at a random time of day, and I see several presumably Haitians there. The very few people there could speak English. So it seems like the evidence is pointing in that direction. But I think I was able to sit down and talk with like 10 people today, and they're all telling me the same stories. Now, hopefully tonight, I haven't heard from him yet. I gave him my phone number, begged him to do a full phone interview, but this poor guy has had a really rough go of it, and he's the one who's getting evicted because a Haitian is going to come into that house and replace him. So hopefully he tells me his whole story. If that happens between now and while I'm editing this video, I will stop everything and take that call. But, city officials say none of this is happening, but every local that I talk to say that stuff is most definitely happening. Between illegal immigrants, influx of drugs, higher crime rate, break-ins, can't get to the Social Security office, can't get to the welfare office because they're packed, people being bussed in, which we've heard stories like that all over the country. So for crying out loud, is every random stranger that I'm talking to lying to me? I mean, it's possible. But then I definitely saw a lot of non-English speakers. I mean, all I have to do is listen. You know, I'm not stupid. I'm not the greatest journalist there ever was by any stretch of the imagination, but this is just getting ridiculous. So at what point do you say, hey, there is a problem? And most of the reports I'm hearing are 15 to 20,000. One local thinks it's more like 40. That could be true, it could not be, but it's a large number of people entering a small town. And this all goes back to our non-existent border policy. You know, go back 4 years ago, it was not this way. I wonder why things were so different. But I went on the ground. I went there in person. I'm doing the work that these corporations with millions of dollars and tons of resources should be able to do. So why do I have to be the one to do it? Well, I feel like I should, because, you know, I'm only an hour from town, so it's worth the drive for me to get this information to you. I beg that you will share this with your friends, family, etc. But this is just another grain of sand in the heap. Locals are saying we have these problems, they're getting worse, and the government is either completely ignoring it or making it worse. I mean, if you call local law enforcement and report, hey, there's a dead cat hanging from a tree, they don't show up, they don't say anything. It's getting ridiculous, and something has to be done about it. And if there is no justice, all that's left behind is vigilante justice. Is that something that we want for our society? So to all of our dearly beloved Ohio legislators, what are you doing? So thank you all for tuning in. I hope that this informed you at least a little bit. If you'd be so kind, like and share the video with your friends, family, people you know. We've got to get the word out there, man. Like we've got to fight this narrative, the mainstream media machine, because the big corporations, they do not care about you. So we have to all do our part one small way or another to push back against this, because if it's just one or two people doing it, we're not going to succeed. So please do that for me. Thank you all. Until we meet again, stay gold.